Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? A gracious good morning to you good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. It's Thursday morning. It's 4:22 in the AM and it's 4/2/26. In other words, it's April 2nd. I shared in my first video for this morning that I watched the Lamar Odom documentary, and I share with you guys, I work as a substance abuse counselor, addiction counselor, primarily right now dealing with opiates, and more specific, my audience, clients, whatever, is focused on pregnant and postpartum women with a substance abuse problem, and the legal aspects of said problem. In other words, dealing with CPS and navigating through, all the requirements and social programs that are connected with the addiction problem, and having children. Okay, that's what I do for a living. That's what I've done for a living for 20 plus years. Prior to that, I was a bookkeeper and payroll clerk. But as I got involved in ministry, and yes, things change, life changes, and individual situations change. During my internship, I found myself doing more and more counseling. And there was one specific incident that happened after I was appointed minister that really shaped and formed why I do what I do. That being said, in watching the documentary, I don't know what the point of it was, other than to talk about Lamar Odom and his connection with the Kardashians. I don't know. It for me, it was one more aspect of voyeurism and self-aggrandizement for the Kardashian family, for Lamar, and I don't know if this man is still alive. I vaguely remember hearing something about his passing, but I'm not quite sure. I have to look this up. Hold on just a second. Let me do what I need to do to find out before I speak out of turn. Yes, he is. He is deceased. Dennis Hoff, Mr. Bunny Ranch himself. Yeah. Who basically was a pimp till the day he died. And that was his profession, other than owning these, I want to say, poorly kept brothels. When I remember seeing the HBO series about the Bunny Ranch. But there was also the Love Ranch. And I guess that's where Lamar spent most of his time. Now, I did hear the pain and the damage of addiction by way of the voice of his children and his high school sweetheart with whom he had these children. But everything else, like I said, was self-aggrandizement. And if you listen closely and if you paid attention to this particular video, you would still hear the love and the pull and the call for substance abuse when he spoke. I'll have to look to see when this thing was made. Not to knock the Hollywood rehabs, but a lot of the rehabs realize that they're dealing with Hollywood and dealing with stars, and that's where their money comes from. That does impact the level of care. I need to say that. It also speaks of conflict of interest. I need to say that. Now, there are going to be some people that are all on my line about that. But, I speak what I see. Insurance companies play a big factor in the quality and the success in treatment. There's a lot of factors that come into play in treatment. Right now, what I'm seeing is the impact of the insurance companies that won't pay for any long-term treatment. When I first started, programs were a year to 18 months. Now, you're looking at 90 days at best for insurance. Now, you can have multiple episodes, but you have to justify anything and everything after 90 days. Yeah, and most of the folks are counting, like, the old cartoons where you see the days etched on the prison wall. That's how most people are measuring their treatment. There's a handful that adhere to or that set a standard. And I heard phrases like enabler bantered about, and like I said, I heard Lamar still romanticizing about substance use. I also heard there was an aspect of family. It's more specific, his family, that came into play, and you could also hear the weight that was placed upon him to be the individual that held the family. When somebody is successful in, sports, they oftentimes become the financial savior of a whole group of people. You heard that too, and you get to see that. But let me shift to the marriage after 30 days and who he married. I read something yesterday on one of the internet browsers that one of the Kardashian/Jenner folks who has a child, the child asked them why they were famous, and they just broke down crying. That's according to the story. I break down crying knowing that they're famous for doing nothing. And everything is a photo op, and everything is an opportunity. I don't decry the finances and all that. Do what you do, make your money. But don't flaunt it, for the folks who have an everyday hustle. Now, your hustle may be different, but again, I don't ever remember hearing about stress living from paycheck to paycheck. I see trad wife or marrying well, you know, just like the Housewives series. Now on some of the shows, you see some struggle, you know, from people trying to recapture past glories and monies. But for the most part, the Kardashians nipple. I believe that's the new phrase. So that being said, can we normalize hearing and filtering, or learning to filter, that everything isn't about money and everything isn't about the people involved, you know? And by that I mean, if you listen closely, you'll hear Chloe kind of make the addiction about her. You know, we all do it from time to time. You know, somebody will say something, oh, I remember when and then it seems to be like this mental one-upmanship. Just let some things go. Let some things just stay where they are. Normalize not having to convince somebody that you had it worse. Yeah. Or if you're listening, use the information to measure what your standard is in relation to the situation, but you don't have to speak on it. That part.